How you started here at the fort.
I moved not many months later and approached you and said, I want to coach. You said, well, you can be a member. Right. I said, okay, I guess I'm a member. I didn't have the best childhood. It was definitely something where I was like, what can I do to really escape? What can I do to be involved in something and feel a sense of community and feel like I belong?
Where did this kind of pull towards movement kind of start for you?
In the beginning, I was so committed to just making my own way. So I walked on and earned my way. Your training was for you to excel as a human being, and that leaves room and space and energy to lift others up. That's where I really started to figure out that movement isn't about the numbers. It's not about the accomplishment. It's not about anything other than I needed to be connected to my body, and moving my body is a non-negotiable.
First, tell us a little bit more about, how you kind of came into our community, how you started here at the fort, just so people know, kind of your entry into fort life.
Sure. I mean, up until this point, it's kind of a cool story. It's kind of a manifested story. So I feel like my story starts the same as quite a few of our members, which is Kevin Cape, bringing me into
right. For those of you who don't remember, Kevin was on our leadership-based podcast last week. Yeah.
Just rewind one YouTube back, and that's Kevin. So he's been a friend of mine since college. I think we're going on 15, 16 years. We've known each other. Also a mover in college, movers together. And I came to New York to visit. And I think the very first thing I did, I landed at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. And then it might have been 7:30 in the morning on a Wednesday, and not, Pacific Standard Time, coming from California, was early, but I was okay. And at the time it was called the conditioning gym. Mm-hmm. I was already not excited about that.
Right. There's a reason we changed the name.
Yeah. Exactly. I was like, are there treadmills? What am I going to have to do in there? Okay, I guess we're doing it, but I trusted Kevin. So came in and I was hooked. You walk in and there's just an energy in this place, and you feel really comfortable. And as you said, a lifelong mover. I'm going to put that on my resume. Yeah. Lifelong mover. I've been to hundreds and hundreds of gyms in different environments and communities. And I loved it. And we came back, I think 2 more times. I was here for a week. Then I came back about a month later, repeated the same process, went to both sides, strength gym, conditioning gym at the time, so Dynamic Classic now. And I hadn't really had plans to move to New York. It had always been a dream of mine, but I honestly, and I think I told you and Kyle this last week, that really set it in motion. That made me feel comfortable about moving across the country and kind of chasing a dream that was just in the back of my head for a long time. And I knew I would have a community here, and I'd never felt better. And I really hadn't even done a program, but I loved the way that it was set up. I loved the way that the training was set up, and I loved the people. Every single person I met made me feel like I could be here and I would be taken care of, in not even just within these 4 walls, but in the city. And I moved not many months later and approached you and said, I want to coach. You said, well, you can be a member. Right. I said, okay, I guess I'm a member. Right. And then kind of progressed from there.
You are a certified yoga instructor, and you have a pretty deep practice in yoga. You're a pretty avid gym goer and have done a lot of group fitness classes, and that's kind of been a big part of your life. So where did this kind of pull towards movement kind of start for you?
I mean, we were just talking about riding our bikes at a very young age, we're just we're getting out there, we're going. I was thinking about this. We didn't talk about this ahead of time, but for me, I think where it originated, it was from a young age. I didn't have the best childhood. It was definitely something where, I was like, what can I do to really escape? What can I do to be involved in something and feel a sense of community and feel like I belong, right? That I belong, that, have a family, let's say, we're on team sports, have a family. So I just tried to join every team. I tried to play every sport. I would find people in the park and just ask them if, I could play too. So I think even starting from a young age, I was on the all boys baseball team, because I was I'm going to do it. I don't know. Let's do this. I want to try it out. And it kind of whittled down into basketball. In high school, I did track and field and tried my hand at that, and just ended up excelling in basketball. So did that collegiately, Long Beach State, and was just so committed. I didn't have a scholarship in the beginning, but I was so committed to just like making my own way. And at that time, maybe did feel a little bit like an escape from my real life or whatever that looks like. So I walked on and earned my way. Ended up getting a scholarship my second year through graduating. And after that, once you graduate and you have that kind of regimented thing that you're doing and you're with a team and you're moving in that way and competing and you have a purpose, a sense of purpose, a sense of community. When you graduate, they don't really tell you what to do with your hands after that.
Yeah.
You're just in the world all of a sudden. You have a job and you have no idea what it looks like to be, to kind of have that quote unquote taken away from you, or you exit that. So I think it's a story with a lot of competitive athletes that they enter into something like CrossFit or a gym community that feels a little bit like that, like a team. So I jumped into that and just sort of tried everything. I had never done, snatches, clean and jerks, worked with kettlebells, worked with barbells, dumbbells, all of that. I did for what they told us in weightlifting in college, obviously, but I'd never done it like that. So joined that. And then I was in a pretty bad car accident and it really slowed things down for me. And we were kind of talking about this, that my training had been a little bit chaotic. Like I was searching for something. I was trying to fill sort of a gap. So I was like, I don't care, whatever it is. It was almost like digesting anything I could get my hands on when it came to movement. And I had a disc replaced in my cervical spine. So between L4, L5, or C6, C7. And I wasn't allowed to do anything overhead. I wasn't allowed to do anything weight bearing with my upper body. So I strapped on a weight belt and I did put a kettlebell in between my legs and just squat in between boxes. So what did you call it earlier?
Oh yeah, belt squat.
Belt squats. Yeah. And I did that for months because I couldn't do anything. And I think that's where I really started to figure out that movement isn't about the numbers. It's not about the accomplishment. It's not about anything other than I needed to be connected to my body and how I move in the world. And it was focused and it became intentional and it became, something that I could do to reset and understand who I am as a person, as a leader, as a friend, as a sister, everything. And movement became that for me. So as I progressed, and you said Olympic weightlifting isn't really a team sport. And immediately I thought about my coaches and my teammate. It was a team sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know this, right?
Yeah.
Like you are alone, but I did it with these other people.
Yeah.
And that was part of it. Like I never did anything alone. You just feel like you have this family. And then I really got into yoga, and that for me is completely about mindfulness. It's about, how I strategically move my body, how I strategically breathe, how I reset my mental state. And it's something I tell my students and I tell people in here and I tell people in my life that I have access to these tools to show up as a better human being because I'm strategic with how I move. And we know all of that is integrated inside these four walls and outside these four walls. And I think has given me, we were talking about coping mechanisms earlier. It's given me this ability to restart. If something like shakes me, I can kind of slow down and understand and see things differently. And so I think I didn't really understand what movement had done for me up until that point. And then it all kind of came into alignment where it's always really it's really saved me in the world. It's really created the person I want to present to the world. And even more so, we talked about moving into a leader of those communities. My favorite part about it, like this isn't about me. It's not about my name on the board. It's not about my numbers. Sometimes I don't even know what those are. It's about, I get to witness others doing the same thing. I get to witness others show up and understand themselves better. How are you in the face of adversity? How, when you go through the line, or do you stop short, or during the thaw, how do you finish? How do you get through that mental fatigue, that physical fatigue? Where are you? How can you breathe? Like you witness all this beautiful thing come together. And that might sound kind of funny or kind of silly, but you get to witness that as a leader in these communities. And it's just it's why I want to do this for my life, for my purpose, is it has saved me in that way. And I think it's amazing to witness that.
So talk to me a little bit more about like the yoga practice and how that kind of serves that purpose
Yeah.
of just having like this daily practice that's just very kind of internal and movement driven and not so much accomplishment driven.
Yeah, I think if, we take it back before that shift, and obviously it's never perfect. I definitely still look at the board. Like I say, I don't really care what's up there. I'm like, just did it today. Yeah. I was like, yeah, we're doing, look at that we killed it. I think when you were saying that, I think the biggest mindset shift is, I was in it to win it against others. I was competitive. I wanted to beat others, right? Like I wanted to be the best Olympic weightlifter. I wanted to lift the most weight. And I think that's like the kind of the chaotic part I'm talking about, where my mindset was never inwards. I wasn't really focused on how I felt during it, as long as I pushed it the furthest, moved the fastest. And having that shift, and I can really give a lot of credit to yoga, and also just it takes a lot of external work too, where I have to look inwards and I have to really think to myself, okay, this is for me. This is for my mental reset. This is being in the community. And I think I actually thought of a good example as you were talking too. And when I witnessed things like this, there was a client, they were going through a thaw, and I was over here coaching and I was watching them. And there's a group of 4 that come together all the time, as like some people do. They have their time slots, and the client got off the bike and was done with the thaw, but there was still one of her teammates during the time was still going. And the passion that she had cheering on this person to keep going further, this genuine joy of just clapping and like yelling for them, like that's the shift. Like you start to be that person where you are inward focused, you're doing this for yourself. However, that allows you to be that person in the community. And I think without removing myself, some people this works for, but myself from that constant competitive mindset with others, I wasn't able to show up for others in that way. And you can witness it and see like that person has shifted. They are self-focused. They do, they are seeing that the program works. They are experiencing failures and success, and, they're seeing gains or whatever it is that you want to call it. But that feeling when you can genuinely be there for someone else because your training was for you to excel as a human being. And that leaves room and space and energy to lift others up. And I think so many of us, and I'll speak for in here, shift to that mindset that that's what works. Yeah. Right? You find places like that works. And yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, that's the nice like paradox of this, right? Is that you kind of come to it usually for yourself. Yeah. Then you find community and, doing it for others becomes super valuable. And, we know that we'll push harder when we're pushing for someone else rather than ourselves. And then ultimately that leads to us getting the best personal result.
Yeah.
So I think we've kind of figured out how the practice of movement and kind of your experience with it has led to a shift in what you are aiming to accomplish while you do it, and kind of what makes it satisfying to you, or what's a really good outcome for you. How about like those lessons that you learn in here, taking them outside the 4 walls in the gym? Like, how does that experience kind of permeate the rest of your life? How
doesn't it permeate the rest of my life? I think you hear a lot of people talk about how they just felt better when they moved, right? Or, if you do it, some people are first thing in the morning, some people are in the evening, depending on, are they trying to get motivated for the day, or are they trying to decompress from a day? What works for that individual person? But I think for me, it is kind of that mindfulness, right? Like if I focus on how I'm moving my body, how I'm breathing with the community, there's more patience in my day-to-day. There's more kindness in my day-to-day. There's more understanding, compassion, empathy, all the things that, I think human nature, humankind needs a little bit more of. So, I mean, you hear some people that are like, this is a non-negotiable for me. Moving my body is a non-negotiable. There's a reason for that. Maybe they haven't named that yet, but in my experience, it just helps me live the way that I want to live with people that I want to, want to impact, or I want to be a leader for. And without it, those types of movements, and I think everything from breathing to moving to energy to all of that, I just notice a difference. I notice that I can't really hold the space like we were just talking about for others. I can't show up in a whole way without resetting in that way. So it's just, I don't know. I just am convinced that if everyone just moved a little bit, we live in a better place.
You're starting to train for a triathlon. Yeah. What prompted that decision?
I don't know.
Courage.
Yeah. Courage. I'm sure courage and some friends who kind of talked me into it. I'm such an enthusiast with this shit. It's like the high rocks. Like everyone's like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah. Like, I'm just like,
just going along for the ride.
I'm just going along. We'll see what happens. So yeah, I guess, we sink when we try and swim.
Yeah, same. I'm not buoyant.
No, I just like right to the bottom. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. And I'm doing it in Alaska. All right. So might as well go hard or go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jones, we're just going to go jaunt through Denali Park and just see what happens. Yeah. I don't even have a bike yet. Yeah.
Seems like you're prepared.
Super prepared.
Yeah. Just go to like the most rugged wilderness that we have in the United States.
And just do it. Run.
And just do it. I love it.
Bike. Yeah. And swim.
I love that about it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll keep tuned to,
I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it goes. Hopefully I get in a pool from now till then. I have like 8 weeks. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, after it, maybe we'll come back and do a little bit of a recap of how you did and how it was.
I'm ready.
Awesome. All right. I think that's a good place to wrap up.
Perfect.
All right. This is Brett. I'm Dan from The Fort, where we take this seriously and we do what works, and we'll see you next time.